the dynamic and the relationship between your country and Israel be? Just talk to me for a bit about your feelings about Israel.
Yeah, absolutely. Latin American countries, and particularly Peru, play a really important role in the 40s in the creation of of Israel. So the ties and the support of Peru in the 40s was really, really strong and really important. And that was followed in the 50s. Around the end of the 60s and the beginning of the 70s, there was a shift in foreign policy. There was a military government in Peru who started to be biased favoring the Palestinian agenda. Then, after the military regime finished, from the 80s till now, the position of Peru has been a neutral, inertial position. It looks like this is not a priority for me. I'm going to do what most of the emerging world is doing. So until now, information about what's going on in the Middle East, neutrality, and also just following the majority or what the majority is doing has been the rule in Peru, I will say, in the last 30 years. So I think there is a big opportunity here. It's a big opportunity because nobody is seeing the benefits to link Peru and Latin America to Israel in the future, and also the benefits for Israel. And if you have a country in which most of the countries doesn't have the information, it's much easier to create a platform for a new agenda. And one of the things that I will do is two things, in a very progressively and calm way. Two options, foreign policy and economic policy. In foreign policy, you need to have first a platform of countries that progressively have more information on what's going on. I'm going to tell you one example. In 2014, 3 ambassadors in Latin America were called after the Israel-Palestine conflict. It was Peru, Brazil, and Chile. And you know who was the country who convinced the other one to do that? Peru. Peru. President Humala, through their foreign minister, called the other countries to try to get like a common position. That's it. And the other ones agree because it wasn't a priority. So this is the power of a president. This is the power of a president in a country like Peru could have to do those kinds of things. To be ready, to be prepared. The second one is economic policy, because economics drives politics. And then we have a bunch of options that haven't made, pushed. First, a free trade agreement. If you sign a free trade agreement with Israel, you're going to cause two things. First, it's going to be really difficult for Peru in the future to have a political position against Israel because it's your trade partner. Second, you are going to force your neighbors to sign free trade agreements with Israel because Latin American countries right now are competing day by day to get commercial preference around the world through free trade agreements. If Peru signs a free trade agreement with Israel, I'm going to push Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, maybe Bolivia to have free trade agreements with Israel. The second one, investment accords. There is no investment accords between Peru and Israel. If you got something like that, you're going to create differences in competitiveness in Peru relative to other countries. The other thing that you can do is that now in Latin America has been created a platform really important for the US, which is the Pacific Alliance. The Pacific Alliance is a platform composed by Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Chile to be a counterpart of what's going on to other countries who are aligned more to a non-US interest. Venezuela, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Ecuador. The Pacific Alliance is a platform that it's very aligned to US interests. But one of the accords of the alliance is to create an office around the world who promotes innovation and technology for all these platforms to develop over time. And they have decided that the office needs to be placed in Israel. And you know who is going to be the president who is going to implement that? Me. Mm-hmm. So that's a huge opportunity. Mm-hmm. The other opportunity in economics in Peru is that if we project in the future the conflicts that are going to be in the Middle East, what I see is future boycotts toward Israel. One thing has happened in Europe with, I think it's one telecom company that started some kind of boycotts against Israel. So Latin America could be a new market just to diversify, because this is going to happen in the future. So if this is going to happen in the future, I need to assure new markets if something is happening. And Latin America is a huge and growing market for Israel. If you go to Peru and you ask everybody in the streets, not uneducated people, in the streets, to what concepts do you relate Israel? They will tell you three things. Military, really strong military. Secondly, innovation and technology. And third, education, universities. Everybody knows that. So we have the advantage of has an assets that are in the minds of Peruvians that Israel is a good thing. And I don't have anything against them. So we need to take advantage of that. This is a base to build things. And if we do these policies, free trade agreements, investment agreements, programs linked Peruvian and Israeli university for student exchange, what is going to happen in the next 10 years, Mark, is that it's going to be really difficult for a president, even if the next president after me, that said something or do something against. And the other countries are going to follow because they don't want to lose, space for competitiveness. Those are the kind of things really concrete that you need to do in the first day. One of the things that I learned about the FTA is that Peru started negotiating a free trade agreement with Israel in 2013.
They did.
They did, but the negotiation stopped.
Because?
Because one congressman, one out of the 130, was against. And
There
why?
was an American congressman?
No.
A Peruvian?
A Peruvian congressman.
A Peruvian member of... It's not called Congress. It's called Parliament?
It's called Congress.
It is called Congress.
Yes.
There was a member of the Peruvian Congress who was opposed to a free trade agreement with Israel.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Because he had personal, a personal agenda there. But
and one Peruvian congressman could block it?
Yes. Why? Why? And that's why I'm saying this is a huge opportunity. Why? Because nobody cares. And because nobody cares, just one can stop that. But if the president of Peru cares, it's easy to go to the other way. So that's why I'm saying we are losing a huge opportunity here. And we don't need just to deal with the problems that we have now. I know that the Iran-US accord is really important. I know that the things that are happening in Europe now are really scary and important. But we need to deal with not only with the present problems, but see in the future. What is going to be the future? And the future is telling us that we have a huge continent that is a promise, an opportunity, starting for Peru.
Well, you have a wonderful vision. By the way, is there in Peru any serious Islamic or Muslim population?
No, but we have a very significant risk. And the risk is that Iran is already present in 3 Latin American countries.
Yes.
Yeah, Venezuela, Bolivia, and Nicaragua.
Is the presence of Hezbollah in any way a threat in Peru?
Indirectly.
How?
Drug dealing. Part of the financial support that Hezbollah has, it's from drug dealing in Peru and Bolivia. And that's another issue. That's another issue. The president of Peru has the power to deal with most of the drug dealing problem in Latin America. Because Peru and Bolivia and Colombia are the